San Antonio Spurs assistant coach Becky Hammon made NBA history on Wednesday. After Spurs head coach Greg Popovich was ejected from the game, Hammon took over, becoming the first woman to lead an NBA team during a game. Joining us now to talk about this historic moment is Susan Shackelford, co-author of Shattering the Glass, the Remarkable History of Women's Basketball. Susan, thanks for taking the time here on NewsNation.
Sure, glad to be here.
Becky Hammon continues to break through the glass ceiling. Several years ago, Becky was the first full-time assistant coach in the NBA, and last week making headlines once again after she stepped in for Coach Popovich. How significant is this for women in coaching?
I think it's significant because there's really been there hasn't been much of a two-way street in terms of women having the opportunity to coach men. There have been plenty of opportunities going the other way, which has been great for men. So I welcome the opportunity that she is presenting, or I should say example. She's a great model for people to look at for the potential of women taking these pro roles. You particularly do not see them in the pro game very much with men.
How well is she doing? Again, she got on the sidelines as an assistant coach a couple of years ago, and Coach Popovich is one of the greatest of all time, and she continues to make her way up, and now she was the first coach chosen to take over for him. She has got to be excelling at this aspect of her life.
Well, I think she is. He currently has 3 assistants, according to a story I was looking at the other day, and she's considered his senior assistant. Tim Duncan had been an assistant, but he stepped out of the role of coaching, I think, after just 1 year. So Becky's the #1 assistant. I mean, no bones about it. And the other night when they were playing that game, LA was a team that she scouts for San Antonio. So it was logical from both a technical standpoint and also her order in the pecking order with the coaches.
Your book, Shattering the Glass, was published about 15 years ago. When you were writing this book, I know you had hope, but did you expect to see a woman on the sidelines of a men's major professional sport?
I would say that I thought it would happen sometime, and I had no idea when it might. I think it takes some special people like Popovich to experiment with being different and giving opportunities like this. A lot of people won't take that risk. They have enough on their plate. You know, they're just trying to win ball games, and you're taking on a little bit more responsibility in a way when you do this. Although Becky and Greg Popovich might argue, I think they really focus on the relationship they have as 2 coaches, growing together. But yeah, I thought it would happen someday. I just had no idea exactly when. When I was working on the book, I went to New York to do some research, and Becky had just joined the Liberty. And the people up there were incredibly excited about her. The fans as well as the press corps. I can remember being, in the press room and just the excitement. I mean, Weatherspoon had been a top point guard for them, and now they had Hammon, who was so gutsy and smart. So they loved it.
The growth of women's basketball, you were just talking about the WNBA, continues today. I use my kids a lot in the interviews that I do, and my youngest daughter is only 6, and I promise you, Susan, she's enamored with the game of basketball. How important are women like Becky Hammon to the future of the game of basketball?
Tremendous. I think, and I'll give you a perfect example. When I came through, I don't know, some people might say strangely enough, but when I was in grade school, not much older than your daughter, I was asked at school one day, okay, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was a questionnaire, and they were filling it out. All the kids had to answer. And I said, an NBA coach. And I remember the teacher just kind of nodding and smiling and that kind of thing. And then when I started talking about it at home with my family, and my dad was a high school coach, he kind of pulled me aside. He said, girls don't get to do that. And I said, why not? And he said, well, there's never been one. I mean, they've never hired one. So having Becky Hammon there, that's going to be a tremendous influence on your daughter if she were to continue to play basketball. I mean, there's somebody actually doing it, and it matters.
Susan, before you go, your story leads into my final question. How soon could we see a woman as a head coach for a men's basketball team?
I think within a year or two. I mean, just that's from my gut. I mean, I have no inside knowledge, but I think Popovich probably won't coach forever. She's the #1 assistant. That seems like a logical option. He is paving the way for people to think about hiring a woman. I know she has interviewed a couple of places, so she's a logical person. I think it's going to come fairly soon. I just hope there are going to be more coming behind her.
Susan Shackelford, thank you so much for taking the time on NewsNation.
Oh, you're welcome. Great to be here.